Okay, so we're going to be learning how to use the MODBUS card and interfacing that with the Ranger and how to configure MODBUS registers using the Ranger. So in front of me is the Ranger toolkit. Now I want to make sure that the Ranger knows that I am using a MODBUS card, so I'm going to need to update the variant daughter card firmware. So I have first make sure that the MODBUS card is plugged into your Ranger. Then go to Tools, go to Update Firmware. Now, for the firmware variant, so it knows what hardware revision I have already, so don't worry about that. The firmware variant refers to the daughter card. So I have Modbus card plugged in, so I'm going to click on Modbus. I'm going to click on Start Firmware Update. Now it's updating the Ranger firmware so that it understands that it has the Modbus card. Okay, so now the Ranger has been updated. It understands that it has the Modbus card, and now you'll be able to see that there is a Modbus tab under Ranger configuration right here. So as you can see, you have your settings. So you have your baud rate, your parity or the UART mode, the request delay and the response timeout, and you also have the register format. The register format rearranges the bits and bytes of the registers in accordance to what that register needs. That information will be in the manual of the Modbus sensor when you're trying to pull a particular register. As a standard, however, the register format is high word and high byte. Also, as a standard, you'll see the baud rate at 9600, the parity at 8 and 1. So these settings are pretty much the standard settings, so there's no need to change anything here. Not unless it's specified by the manual of your Modbus sensor. So now we can go to Modbus register map. So right here is your Modbus register map of your Ranger. And essentially, you can have a tag name to let you know what register it is that you're pulling. This is configurable by the user. You have your Modbus ID, which is the Modbus ID of the sensor that you're pulling from. The address, so the register address that you're looking to pull. The type, whether it's whatever function code it is, whether it's a function code 1, function code 2, 3, or 4. Most of the time, it's function code 3 because when you're pulling, you want to read a holding register, so it's function code 3 most of the time. Coil and discrete input are meant to be reading either a 0 or a 1, a binary reading. And an input register, most of the time when it's not function code 3, it's function code 4, in which case you want to pull an input register. Data type. So most of the time, a lot of our customers will pull either signed, unsigned integers that are 16 bits or a floating point that's 32 bits. Now, the difference between the Ranger and the Gateway's Modbus map is that when you want to remap a register to the Gateway's register mapping, if it's a float, you have to include both registers because a float consists of two 16-bit registers. For the Ranger, that's not necessary. You just put in the first register, set the data type as a float, and it'll do the rest for you. The unit is configurable by the user. So if you're pulling in a register that shows, the number of feet that you want to measure for whatever application, you'd have to put in feet over here as a unit. You can type it in however you like. Spell it out, you can do the abbreviation. That's completely up to the user to configure the unit as they please. Access, you can read the registers, in which case if you want to read a holding register, the access would be read only. Read and write, of course, as it shows, enables you to either read a register or write a register to the sensor. And the current value here is whatever it's reading at the time that it decides to pull. So that's how it works. That is how you use the register mapping of the Ranger Modbus.